Hey everybody, today's November 18th and we're doing business and security. Bye.
Not by. We're just
Bye-bye.
getting started.
Just getting started.
We've got a few new products in this level 1 store, like masks. Nice masks. They go around the back of your head. They don't grab onto your ears. It's nice.
And it's nice because if you like, if you're a little lonely during the lockdown, you want a little bit of human contact. When you're out with your level 1 mask, then people will walk up to you and be like, "What is that? I've never heard of that."
I also love level 1 text. Wow, what a coincidence.
No,
And
that
then,
won't-
you know,
that
you
won't
get
happen.
married and have kids and they're all also subscribers to the level 1 news.
Except there's only the one gender in our audience. That's not true, but it's mostly true. Apple. People were really excited about this, and they said a lot of things that might not have been true. But Apple, really, really proud of their new MacBook. Why are they so proud of this one? Well, it's because it is now their own chip, and they are hyping it up.
Apple unveils new M1 Apple Silicon-powered MacBook Air, Mac Mini, and MacBook Pro. Here's everything Apple announced today at the One More Thing event. Yeah, Apple is moving to ARM. They're moving away from x86 because they can beat the performance, they can beat the power, they can do a lot of things. I'm sure it's going to be a good experience, but there's going to be a lot of things that are going to be a bad experience with the new ARM chip.
Not according to them.
One is going to be Thunderbolt compatibility. They, in their presentation, said it was 98% faster than PC laptops sold, and it's like, sold by whom? Walmart? I mean, I would believe that if it's, this laptop is faster than 98% of laptops that Walmart sold. I'd believe that.
PC World has a retort.
No, the new MacBook Air is not faster than 98% of PC laptops. Let me explain why. Apple also said this is an 8-core laptop, which is, again, a lie. There's 4 little cores that are power efficient and 4 big cores that are fast. Listen, AMD got sued because their 8-core CPU only had 4 floating point units. It had 8 integer units, but it only had 4 floating point units. And they got sued over that, and they lost. It's the same thing.
Some other
Not
limitations, one of which it's like, all right, well, probably not a lot of people using those in the first place. But the other one, kind of a biggie.
Yeah, Apple's new M1 Max won't work with external GPUs. The new Apple Silicon-powered MacBook can't use an eGPU and maxes out at 16 gigabytes of RAM. So Thunderbolt. They say it supports Thunderbolt, but there's an asterisk there. They don't really mention it, but Thunderbolt peripherals made before now probably aren't going to work with it properly.
Ouch.
At least not for a while.
So, we'll see what happens with that. I couldn't be less interested in it.
I'm sort of excited that, they're able to do something with ARM, but that just tells you how far behind Intel has fallen because, it's crazy.
Now, working from home, do you remember when working from home was doing your part? It was like Rosie the Riveter. It's like, get out there and work from home and keep the curve down, flatten the curve. And now apparently working from home is privilege.
Well, it's not untrue, but this is a flawed thing to think about it, I think.
Deutsche Bank Research tax home workers to help those who cannot. This seems weird to me because, just hear me out here for a second. But moving jobs overseas was not taxed. Why would we tax? Like, we're moving jobs that don't have to be done here in the office to another country. We don't tax that. But we are going to tax if we move those same jobs from the office to somebody's home in the same country.
Really, though, like, if you're a big business and you're saving money on offices and parking and maintenance and all the crap that goes with having a giant office space for all your workers, shouldn't why would you tax the person who's now having to pay extra electric and possibly more rent because they can't rent out the bedroom that they've now turned into an office, et cetera, et cetera? Like,
Their argument is that when you are out in the world, when you are going to an office for a job, you're stopping at the deli and the newsstand, you're getting your coffee, you're having lunch, maybe you join a gym that's there and, nearby your workplace, and all this, like trickle down economic type stuff.
That's really worked out for us. Yeah.
Shouldn't the business pay that instead of the individual, though?
Well, actually, that is, the business will pay it.
Oh, well, that article made it sound like it was like payroll tax, where
It
the
is.
business pays it, but not really.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it's going to come out of the worker's salary, but the business is responsible for it.
Yeah, so
That's
really,
the rub.
it's
Yeah.
you're. This is bullshit. This is just straight bullshit.
Now, Deutsche Bank, I think it was J.P. Morgan that had the opposite article, and they said we must immediately lock down again and go full remote. So the financial giants are kind of sparring over that.
I mean, I do think it is a privilege to be able to work from home, but like, wouldn't this de-incentivize it? Where it's like, well, I can't afford to pay an extra tax right now because maybe my spouse got laid off. You know.
And it's 5%. If that's 5% off the top pre-tax, that's a lot.
And then you have a bunch of people who are like, well, I can't afford that, so I'm going to go into the office anyway. And then they get infected. And then we're not actually flattening the curve at that point. And it's like, it doesn't make any sense.
Something tells me that Deutsche Bank figured out a way to siphon off some of that 5%.
Yeah, that's what that sounds
That's why
like.
they want
Exactly what that sounds like.
We talked last week about the Raspberry Pi. Was it the 400?
Yes.
Was the keyboard one?
Just released, yeah.
And so the keyboard was a cool new thing. That's kind of a convenience thing. But it turns out there's a lot of other changes under the hood. There's some new heat spreaders, and the bigger chamber and stuff makes it do something that you could never do before with a Raspberry Pi.
Oh, you could definitely. It's just
Boy, but you're going to add cooling to a Raspberry Pi? That's ridiculous.
adventures in overclocking. Which Raspberry Pi 4 flavor is fastest? Hint, it's the new keyboard one. Because the keyboard one turns the keyboard basically into a heatsink. Not really. It's a big aluminum plate. But it'll run at like 2 gigahertz all day
2.5.
long.
2.5 they found.
Yeah, so
Without any extra stuff.
Yeah.
Just the keyboard.
that's crazy.
I mean, probably not on a hot summer day.
Yeah, they were. They could only manage 2.1 stable, and it wasn't perfectly stable on the best of the remaining Raspberry Pi. So the Raspberry Pi 400, that's a decent little overclock.
There's a bunch of like technical images, like graphs and stuff in this article, and then at the bottom there's like an artistic photo of a keyboard and leaves. Why this photo?
Because you're out in nature.
Yeah, right.
With your monitor.
Now it's about to be the winter of our overclock. We're overclocking the computers to keep warm.
I'm sure some college nerd will take like a battery pack and a crappy monitor and like wire together their own Raspberry Pi tablet just for attention.
Wendell's quietly like, that might have been me.
This is another headline where it's one of these headlines. It's like, of course, we already knew. I mean, it's obvious, but it's good to warn people maybe sometimes. Maybe some of you didn't know this already.
Can you trust an Amazon review? 42% may be fake, Independent Monitor says. Yes, a large number of Amazon reviews are completely fake. A large number of Amazon products are completely fake themselves. I just got a box of monitor cables, like DisplayPort cables. I ordered 8 different brands of DisplayPort cables, like the kind of generic ones. The cables that came, they were all identical. Somebody's gaming the system.
You know what? One thing they do a lot of, I've noticed, is you know how you can have like different quantities and sizes, those little boxes you click, or colors or whatever? So they'll put a different item in each one of those things.
I hate that.
But
that makes me so angry.
The reason they do that is because all those reviews go to the same. Every product shares reviews. Yeah. So they can review flood one product, and then 10 products will benefit from that.
Oh, that's evil.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Amazon is more concerned about stuff that's just nonsense rather than actually protecting the consumer.
They're more concerned about the Apple counterfeits that are actually just other brands. Some more bad news, not just from Amazon, but from Google. Google is, at this point, they seem to be going door to door to all of their past projects that people really loved but aren't making a lot of money and murdering them. Or, wounding them to such a degree that they are no longer useful.
Come June 1st, 2021, all of your new photos will count against your free Google storage. It used to be that you could have a certain amount of photo storage for free. That is gone. They want you to pay.
So now this counts toward your Gmail, your OneDrive, all of that. I think it's 15 gigabytes of storage.
Yeah.
And it all counts the same. So if you have a lot of photos, that number is going to bump up really quickly.
Google, we make reasonably okay Android phones with anemic storage so that you'll subscribe to storage in the cloud because we like to make money.
And that storage in the cloud is going to be called Google One. It's going to be more than just cloud service, but that's a part of it. And they really, really want you to sign up for that. They really want it. So much that, again, they're taking their most popular programs, tweaking them just a bit.
Google Photos will lock color pop behind a Google One paywall for photos without depth information. What photos have depth information? Not very many. You got to pay.
Yeah. Get your photo storage. Get your new features. Start 2021 with Google One. Please don't. We can, some F's in the chat. We'll pour one out. I'm not really going to do that because I don't want to make a mess. For a piece of technology that is no longer with us, I mean, it's going to hang around for a while longer. I guess probably the chances are people will die while using these because they're not popular anymore, but they were somewhat revolutionary in their day.
Dish to shut down Slingbox. Devices will become inoperable in 2022. If you haven't discovered the wonders of Plex, I encourage you to check out Plex, or if you're more of a DIYer, MB. But it's not called MB anymore. But you should check out those free and open source media players because this is always going to happen. Always.
Slingbox weathered a lot of legal storms because, of course, you know, the evil copyright cartel was just sure that they were stealing because of what these things were doing, which was just broadcasting what you paid for to a different location. But they won. They weathered the storm.
They won, but Arrow lost? How is this? What the universe makes this fair?
Universe has never been fair. And Uber has some revolutionary new stuff. I think they're trying to just throw everything they can against the wall because they are suffering greatly. Still trying to change the election, even though they're not getting any business. That's interesting, huh? This one I think is interesting. I think, and I hate to go to the darkest place here, but that's kind of my job. I think there will be a sexual assault, and we won't do this anymore because humans are terrible.
Uber now lets users book rides 30 days in advance and pick a favorite driver.
Yeah, absolutely, that will happen. Can the driver say no?
I don't know, but the driver won't necessarily know that you're dangerous.
Yeah.
Sometimes when I have to travel on business and I travel with people that travel a lot more than I do, they always have like a driver for the city, which is really, it's like, so-and-so is going to pick us up at the airport and is going to do whatever and blah, blah, blah. And that actually works out to be less than a cab for all of that and way better service. But they always have a particular individual they know. And there's no service that's involved with that. It's just like they might have met through a service originally a long time ago, but it's just like, hey, this is my guy. And whenever that guy can't do it, he knows somebody else that can do it. And it has worked surprisingly well.
Are you traveling with members of organized crime? Because that's what that sounds like.
That is what that sounds like a little bit.
Maybe. I don't know. I mean,
Vinny's going to drive for us.
I don't ask questions. Yeah. I just fix stuff.
I was thinking it was more like when you in Eastern Kentucky and you're visiting family or something. It's like, hey, my cousin's going to come pick you up. And it's not really good service. It's more just like they're doing you a favor.
Yeah.
Strange. Yeah, I think the driver would need to know if they've been favorited, right?
I don't know.
They could say no. They should be able to say no.
But I don't think that Uber has any idea that being favorited would be a bad thing. I mean, if you're a driver and you're favorited a bunch, that could be like a feather in your cap. You could put that little placard. It's like, I've been favorited 500 times.
Uber stressed that drivers aren't penalized for opting not to take the ride.
And yet.
Right. Spotify has been on a spending spree. Good Lord, they just can't throw away their money fast enough. And their latest acquisition is probably a big part of that because this kind of is like, oh, you paid, what did they pay for? Like $400 million for Joe Rogan? How do you get that money back? Well, here's the answer.
Spotify to buy podcast ad company Megaphone for $235 million. So this company also has an analytics component and user tracking, and they keep track of your preferences and all kinds of other stuff like that. So that's how they're going to make money.
Targeted ads.
Woo!
for a pay service, folks. Although I guess there's a free version, isn't there?
There is a free version, and you have to listen to ads on that. I hope they don't start introducing ads in the paid version, because that will probably make me drop my subscription really fast.
That's what satellite radio did.
Screw that.
And somehow they're still around. Well, we talked last week about the old Hyperloop coming to West Virginia. Now, this is not that. They already have a test center in, was it Vegas?
Yeah. Well, the one in Vegas is only like very short.
But long enough to get some decent speed.
Hyperloop hits an important milestone. The first human passenger. For the first time, 2 people rode in a Hyperloop pod through a nearly airless tube at 100 miles an hour.
Wow.
That is the two of the officers of the company.
Now, if something went horribly wrong and the wreck became a twisted hunk of metal in the tube, there would be no way to rescue them. Just throwing that out there.
Now, here's a critical question that immediately came to my mind. These tubes are pressurized. Is there an oxygen supply? Because you're inside a vacuum.
Yeah, I think there is.
So if I rip just a brutal fart in this little tube,
better have really nice air
I
filtration.
think there's a carbon filter in there.
Yeah. You know, we've still got some of the N95 masks, and I always have to help my mom with cat litter, and I don't know why, but I happened to wear an N95 mask to have mom deal with the cat litter, and it was a much more tolerable experience with the N95 mask. It really does a good job.
You got to get the low dust litter.
No, it's not the dust smell. It's the cat odors.
Cat urine is a strong smell.
Yeah, but the N95, I didn't smell anything. It was fine.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't think that it caught smell particles.
It was effective.
Now, what if we were hyperlooping between like the parking lot and the chili cook-off? Is that carbon filter powerful enough?
Real questions. Think they really need to work out before they launch this into the public.
I thought that was going to turn into a pandemic question, and it was just like, no, it's going to be like an airplane where literally everybody gets infected.
The video of this, the little chamber they're in is pretty tiny.
When we detect COVID in the I said it. When we take the thing inside the tube, you just vent the tube and just pull the corpses out the other side. It's like, we can't take a risk. I'm sorry. This is a very, very, very long article. Boy, do they go into detail, but they are some salacious details.
Yeah.
My God. What HP has done here is just ridiculous.
Ink-stained Wretches, the battle for the soul of your digital freedom taking place inside your printer. If you read this and understand what has happened here, you will never buy another HP product as long as you live.
But they mentioned the other company was also trying something like that. Not this bad. What was the other company they talked about?
Lexmark?
I think, yeah.
Lexmark, I think, yeah.
So here's the thing. HP wanted to get into the whole subscription game, right? Because it's all about software as a service. You got to have recurring fees, cloud stuff. That's the new thing. You don't sell anybody anything that just works. They must continue to pay. So HP came up with, hey, ink for life.
Buy this printer, get ink for life.
Ink for life. It was it like 15 pages a month? It was very low. But if you went over your 15 pages, you just pay them a small fee, which is actually a ridiculous per page fee. It's like college fees for print and stuff.
25 cents a page.
And so people were like, yeah, okay, maybe I can get into that. But there was some fine print. And the fine print said something to the tune of, we actually don't have to honor this at all. And in fact, they're not going to.
No, they're going to charge you $1 a month for the free ink for life. $1 to print 15 pages seems a little steep.
And if you go over,
they charge you more.
They're going to have overage charges. And if they don't get the money for your overage charges, guess what's not going to happen?
Your printer stops printing. You know what the most infuriating thing is? If the printer's low on ink, it won't scan.
I've seen that. What a load of bullshit.
Krista, what about this image?
Oh, shoot. I already closed the tab. Undo close tab. I did think this was cute. This little illustration at the top. So sad.
I would also like to point out, because Mr. Jeep Pie is always like, hey, the FTC is going to save us. Where is the FTC?
Yeah, I mean, good Lord. How much more could this be screaming out for some sort of consumer protection? And they also, the article goes into a lot of detail about how hard they went after the people who were doing the refill cartridges and the discount inks.
It was bad. I mean, it was like super bad.
It's a great read. You should definitely check it out.
Oh, if you isolate the image, like look at the image location, the thing you can't see because the header crops it out on the website is that it's printing a skeleton skull.
No, we can see that. You have a different aspect ratio as we are, I guess.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't see that on mine.
It's a great image.
Anywho.
Though we talked about this last week. This is just a real quick follow-up. They've actually followed through with it. You can't actually use it to make the little payments like we talked about, but you can buy them now.
PayPal now lets all U.S. users buy, sell, and hold cryptocurrency, but you're not going to be paying for that sandwich with cryptocurrency. You can forget it.
$16K for the old Bitcoin.
They're going to, wow, good
up.
Lord. They're going to bring cryptocurrency into Venmo next year.
And then maybe you can buy your sandwich with it. Although it wasn't clear about those fees we talked about last week. Those fees could really eat into a sandwich. Sega, I don't think this is nearly as important here as it is in Japan. Japan still has arcades that are super popular, except not so much these days because, of course, the vid. So what do? You lose a bunch of money. That's what you do.
Sega sells off its arcade business due to the thing. So those arcades are going to be owned by somebody else, which, they may or may not even reopen them. It's, who knows?
They admit they're going to take a huge, the quote is, extraordinary losses. So rip Sega and arcade gaming. Ticketmaster. Now this, you might see the headline here. You might think, well, how is this related to technology? It's the stack of technology that has to be required to make this work. And oh my God, are they going to track you? So much delicious tracking is going to come from this.
Ticketmaster exploring negative tests for the thing or vaccination to attend concerts. So yeah, you would be trusting Ticketmaster with a lot of personal and medical information. Do you think Ticketmaster's IT team is ready to handle HIPAA? Anybody want to give me some over and under odds on that?
So there's they walk through the cornucopia of apps and business partnerships and everything that would be involved in this. But basically you would go to a pharmacy like a CVS or something like that who's in partner, and then they have an app and Ticketmaster has an app and everything has to agree. And if you get the green light, I think it's 72 hours before the concert, then you can go to the concert.
And this is going to be utterly ineffective.
Yeah.
Couldn't you just bring your paper copy? Like, here's my receipt with my name on it.
No. People fake things like that, it turns out.
Yeah.
I was thinking about when I took Rue to get boarded last time, and she has to have a Bordetella vaccine, and he's fine if I just bring the receipt to show that she's been vaccinated.
That's because he probably hasn't yet experienced a terrible person.
Yeah.
And people probably
it's a small place I take her, but
they're not working as hard to sneak dogs into a kennel as they would be to try to, get into
a concert.
Whatever I can't think of a popular artist. Who's WAP? Cardi B.
Cardi B, yeah.
Cardi B, get into a Cardi B.
I can't think of anyone who's currently touring who I would be interested in going to see and being packed in a room with now.
Krista, you do have an eclectic taste in music, so.
Yeah. That's true.
So over there in the Chinese part of the world, they have something similar to our, shopping holidays, except it eclipses our shopping holidays. Prime Day and Black Friday, that's nothing compared to Singles Day. And we have a new
We talked about that last year. Reuters reports that Alibaba's Singles Day sale topped $74 billion. Planned, rules hit shares.
I like that they're having, it looks like a kind of a telethon type situation going on here in the call center.
It's like it's a boring dystopia material.
But they got the warehouses going hard there. So they're feeling good about it, although their share price did drop afterwards because of some other stuff.
The Ant Group thing and some other stuff. Yeah, it didn't go well.
Still, a nice little piece of pocket money there.
Well, a lot of people are
74 billion.
a lot of people are spending money on things. I mean, it's happening here too. I mean, look at the game console sales. It's over the moon because nobody's got anything else to do.
Here's something crazy that I never would have thought. I've started shipping most of the stuff to my house now instead of here because I come here once a week. I get everything a day faster at my house.
That's surprising.
Yeah.
That is weird.
That is very weird.
You live out like, I mean, you're not in the middle of nowhere, but like,
Well,
you're
I'm
far
certain-
enough out that I would expect you would not get stuff as quick.
Yeah, I'm certainly not, as close to civilization as this office is by a long shot. It's
Weird.
Maybe our driver just doesn't like us because we're constantly needing things.
No, it's not the driver because when I change my address on the Amazon page, it changes the delivery date.
Huh,
Yeah. Wow.
that's odd.
Now, Krista, this will never work here, so you will not benefit from this. But if you were African, your rural internet might be solved not by Elon Musk, but by Alphabet.
Alphabet Project uses light beams to bring broadband to remote regions. Lucky bastards. Not us.
The setup looks fairly advanced. A bird flying through the beam, it seems like that would be a problem, but
It'd be a temporary interruption, though.
I did that in college. There was another student and I that set up, we used red laser pointers to shoot from one tall building on campus to another tall building on campus. It only worked after hours because there was too much interference from the sun, or the laser pointers weren't bright enough, depending on how you want to look at that. And it was also only 14400 or 19200 bits per second. So not exactly broadband, but it was neat. It was a lot of fun.
How long do you think till we see a story where, it's one of these, is WhatsApp, is that what they use over there? You know how they're always killing each other?
Oh, yeah.
And something gets out and it's like, oh no, this is a terrible WhatsApp story. I can't let the rest of the community see this. Somebody just drives a truck straight into those poles.
That'll happen.
It's
Yeah.
like, we have to shut this down.
I mean, when we were growing up, people would shoot the cable TV lines into because
Yes.
the government was spying on us through the cable TV lines.
That happened.
I was about to ask about that. I was like, I'm pretty sure you guys have talked about that happening here.
Yeah,
It literally did.
it's unfortunate. Well, Microsoft, moving on to the security section, Microsoft is saying what we've known for some time, that the Achilles heel of two-factor authentication is that your mobile phone, when operating as a phone, is extremely insecure.
Microsoft urges users to stop using phone-based multi-factor authentication. Microsoft recommends using app-based authenticators and security keys instead. Yes, we would recommend that as well because the mobile phone network is dangerously insecure.
And even if it weren't, the whole employee SIM jacking thing, how do you solve that?
Yeah. You can practice for this eventuality by rotating your phone number often.
And another Microsoft security instance, and this, I think we talked about this before,
We did.
but now we've got more details about how this guy did it. And it was kind of, I don't know if it was brilliant. He
Not at first.
He saw a loophole and he took it. Over time, he started to worry a little bit, but not nearly enough.
Yeah. Microsoft engineer gets 9 years for stealing $10 million from Microsoft. The defendant tried and failed to use Bitcoin to cover his tracks. So he tried to send it to a Bitcoin mixing agreement. At first, he was only stealing a little bit and didn't bother to cover his tracks at all.
He figured out, we should point out, he was a tester, like a store tester. So you could go in and you could buy any product from the Microsoft store, and there was a flag on it. It's like, this is a tester account. Don't ship this. But what about digital products? Turns out there was no flag on the digital products.
Oh.
Because it doesn't cost anything.
So he was getting Microsoft points, and then he could exchange those for some actual goods. But then he was like, I should just sell these on the black market. And he did for Bitcoin. Then he got caught.
Yeah. Although he also used other people's accounts, hoping that, if he ever was caught, he could, have some subterfuge.
But it was a little late, and he used the same Bitcoin wallet.
Yeah.
If he would have done this right, they would have known somebody on the team did it, but they might not know who. They also looked at his Coinbase, and they're like, that's weird. Your deposits to Coinbase exactly match a certain percentage of what you stole, because he had to sell them for a lower price than the actual street value. But it was always the same amount lower.
How long do you think he was doing this if he stole 10 million?
It was a long time. They said, I think it was like 5 or 10 years.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh no, from 2016 to 2018.
Oh yeah, there you go. Well, that's
two
much
two
lower.
years.
Yeah, he only netted $2.8 million on a $10 million steal, so that's not a great return.
And he went out and bought a super expensive house and super expensive car. Criminal failure 101 right here. All the things that you should not do. He should have started spending that money next year. You know,
Hey, I invested in AMD when they were $2 a share. I'm out.
I pulled a similar hard scam on Amazon this week. They give you $10 if you reload a gift card balance for $100 on your Amazon account. But I paid for that with my Amazon Prime card with 5% cash back. Boom, $15.
Wow.
Thank you, Mr. Bezos.
He is a generous God.
So we talk a lot about Play Store malware or Android malware. And the question is, like, where does it come from? I don't think this is surprising, but it is a disappointing answer to that question. They looked at all the various vectors where malware can get into your Android phone. Guess what's number one?
Play Store identified as main distribution vector for most Android malware. You know why? Because Google are apathetic masters. They literally do not care. They don't vet anything. They don't even do cursory checks. And the checks that they do are trivial to get around.
So these 12 possibilities were ranked. And number one at 67%, that's a lot, was the App Store. Or Play Store, not the App Store.
This app is not technically malicious. It just doesn't work in a user's interest. I want my free apps.
Krista, this photo seems lackluster.
Oh, I closed the tab again. I do close tab. Yeah, this is well, I don't even know what this is. It's very low effort.
We're not expecting a lot of traffic to this article, so just throw something together.
Just make some marks on it.
That would be like probably a pretty good job, right? Like just doing little graphics like this. You probably get paid nothing. They probably pay you like $5.
You're probably not an employee. You're just, a freelancer.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. Yeah. Chrome is adding some security that Firefox and Safari already have.
Chrome to block tab-nabbing attacks. Basically, when you right-click a link and you do open a new tab, the tab that you opened could send commands to the tab that you opened to without this security patch, which actually, believe it or not, was a feature. Like way back a long time ago, that was a feature. There's a thing you can add to links, which is rel no opener, which will prevent that command channel from working, but no website ever added that. And the reason it's not that way by default is because some old applications depend on this functionality.
Those poor developers with their rose-colored glasses, not thinking about the darkness that they will reap.
Yeah, I mean, Chrome has already broken post and Flash applications. Like if you've got a legacy Flash application, support for it ends next month, just to let you know. But Google pulled the rug out from under everybody by, if you have a Flash application that posts to an API, even if your cookies are set correctly, it will never pass the session cookie, even if it's got the correct cookie flags. And that's a recent change to Chrome. It's a bug in Chrome.
Is this Compal as in Computer Pal or Compal?
I think it's Compal.
Compal. You may have
I
never
like your idea though better. Compal.
Compal.
You may have never heard of them, but you might have actually used one of their products.
Oh yeah, you definitely have.
They make products for a lot of big companies. Now they're saying that this definitely wasn't a ransomware attack, but it looks, smells, and sounds like a ransomware attack.
Compal, the second largest laptop manufacturer in the world, hit by ransomware. They build laptops for Apple, Acer, Lenovo, Dell, Toshiba, HP, and Fujitsu. So they said, well, we did get hit by ransomware. It was just the front office. It didn't affect manufacturing. And the several days of downtime that we had, don't worry about that.
Ouch. And I don't know what this is, but I imagine it's foreboding.
We had some downtime to correct some undesirable behavior, is what the IT team said.
I accidentally one-tabbed that story twice.
Yeah, I was confused there.
I'm not going to fix it. We also have learned recently that Apple is trying to get into the search engine game, and Apple's kind of downplaying it. They're like, maybe.
We reported on this one already. There wasn't any new info.
Did we talk about the IPs?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Forget all that.
Well, it's Apple's search engine is like crawling the internet, and it's also leaking what the internal IP addresses are. Security researchers said that, hey, this is a security problem. And Apple was like, it's not really. We don't care. And so they took like a year. And then the security researchers demonstrated why that was an issue. And then Apple was like, oh, so they fixed it.
Now, if you have a Ring doorbell camera, you are screwing your neighbor. There's no getting around it. You're a terrible person. I don't care how much security you think you're getting from it. It's actually the opposite of security. And in many ways, you could be screwing yourself.
Amazon's Ring doorbells catch fire because the wrong screw is used. So they have a security screw on the bottom. And if you lose that screw, which is very specially shaped and sized, and use some other screw, you will puncture the battery. There's a battery in these. The battery cannot wait to catch on fire, which is exactly what it does when it's punctured.
So yeah, the one with the pointy tip, stay away from that one. That one's used to mount your Ring doorbell to the wood of your door or whatever, trim or wherever you want to put it. The wall of your sex dungeon, wherever you're putting it.
I wonder how often you have to recharge the Ring battery because it seems awfully inconvenient.
I imagine it's, do they not have power run to them?
It's the battery for when there's a power outage.
I was thinking that, yeah. Because video all day long, no battery could withstand that for a reasonable amount of time, could it?
It seems silly that it has a battery then.
Well,
Are they solar powered?
No.
Listen, if the power goes out, how are we going to surveil you?
What a nightmare.
Ring users, tell us what the battery situation is. I've never looked into it because I'm never buying one. And finally, a fun little story, reminiscent of little Bobby Tables, where someone who knows a little bit trolled the bureaucracy and did it well, but ultimately was defeated by the bureaucracy because you're not allowed to do fun stuff like this.
Company's house forces business name change to prevent security risk. So this is like the business registry, I guess, in the UK. And the company name was literally quote greater than, which, that's a classic string that you can use for script injection. Well, it apparently caused a script injection because as soon as their company name was listed on the website, they were like, no, we can't do this. So they had them change the name to that company whose name used to contain HTML script tags limited.
This guy, he feels all smug and, happy about himself and he gets stories about him. But the, desk level employee that had to deal with this, can you imagine how their day went that day? It's like, are you kidding me?
I just added this company and now the system doesn't work. What's going on? It's like, oh, yeah, little Bobby Tables.
All right.
That's it for Wednesday as we cruise into the end of one of the worst years any of us have ever experienced.
Check out the face masks and DisplayPort 1.2 KVMs on the Level 1 store. The 1.2 KVMs are shipping immediately.
Collect them all.
Yeah, the 1.4s, if you pre-ordered, they're coming soon. If you didn't pre-order, there's going to be another round of pre-orders, but those aren't going to ship until like late January or February. So,
and look,
and they're DisplayPort 1.4.
There's no guarantee that. Remember that the next milestone is January 21. Things could get weird on January 21. I think it's less likely than we all felt about the election.
Weirder.
But, some stuff could go down, and you could be sitting at home with or without a KVM. It's time to make your decision. Who do you want to be? Krista, give us a goodbye that encompasses your pity for those without KVMs.
Bye.